Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Brace for Impact. Benny has put his hands up in
I don't know why I
surrender.
started with like really bad jazz hands, by the way.
Jazz.
Just really,
We
really
weren't
bad
even listening to
jazz hands.
music or anything beforehand. Like, we just.
I know.
Oh, that's great. You know what? 10 fingers for 10 points of contact as we go around the world here. 10 points of. I've run out of ideas already. I don't know why you did jazz hands. I cannot riff on that.
I'm still tired from staying up for last night's USA Canada game. I'm gonna be honest with you, which is like the worst game I've ever witnessed. It was such an awful game.
Yeah, welcome to Brace for Impact, where we talk about soccer for no reason, because
Yeah,
this is
I'm
an
sorry.
entirely female CS podcast. But every single time,
Yeah.
and this man is wearing a soccer jersey literally every single time. Go the Philadelphia Union, though. Ups to them. Yeah, we'll keep Benny happy for now, at least. All right, we have a semi-busy schedule. It's a lot of announcement stuff, not so much in terms of the tournament results, but the tournaments that we do have, we're just going to get those results out of the way first. And I say out of the way, I mean, we are going to talk about them a little bit here. We got some time, so let's start off with Liga Femenina, 2nd edition, 2023.
The closed qualifier.
Yes.
So actually, it's the Masters Femenina 7 closed qualifier. I had to think of it 7 or 8. So,
right.
Did I not give the closed quote? Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I've sent you the wrong link. I'm gonna send you the right link right now. How about that?
Rough. It's rough out here.
Cash me outside. There you go. I'm just gonna completely delete the wrong link. There you go. Whoop, there you go. So it's the closed qualifier to Masters Femenina. So the Liga Femeninas do lead to this, right? So 2nd and 3rd place get spots in these closed qualifiers, and then you have an open qualifier for the 4 teams. So Black Dragons, MIBR, Cavalis got the Liga Femenina's second spots from 2nd edition, and then they had to play a tiebreaker between W7M and Divina. W7M won the tiebreaker, so they got the spot, and then Divina got put into the open qualifier, right?
Yeah.
From the open qualifier, we had Ravens, Heroicas, which is, I think that's XLRV, I want to say.
I'd say so.
Yeah, Divina female and Storm Power.
Right.
And pretty expected results. Black Dragons, I think, were pretty much Black Dragons that might be like the two sides here that were expected to breeze through. They went all the way through the upper bracket. Black Dragons 2-0 Storm Power, MIBR 2-0 Divina, and then MIBR 2-0 Cavalis, and Black Dragons 2-0 Ravens. So
yeah.
No surprises there. Ravens did beat W7M, and Ravens is Luflix, Kati, Vizis, Lulitens, Nami. Remember, Nami was filling in for Furia for a little while.
I do remember that.
Yeah. So that was the Ravens side. They beat W7M, which is Bruna, Sammy's, Hera, Mari, Ujuliana. And then, of course, W7M through the lower bracket, they beat Storm Power 2-0. And actually, Heroicas beat Divina 2-1. That was the other, like, kind of, I don't want to say shock, because, like, obviously, Heroicas is a really good side, right?
Yes.
Like, to be fair to them. But Divina certainly should have been in that match the whole way. And I mean, it was 2 16-10s they lost, so I don't know. It was like an average series. And then Ravens actually beat Heroicas 2-0. So the XLRV side didn't even make it to Masters Femenina. So in the end, the 4 teams that are going to be joining Furia and B4 in Masters Femenina 7 will be Black Dragons, MIBR, W7M, and Ravens.
Right.
And Masters Femenina, the date hasn't been announced yet. It's about 4-ish weeks after this finished, or after the closed qualifier usually finished. So this finished first, 2nd of July. It's only been essentially a week. But yeah, looking forward to the announcement probably within the next week or two of the dates of Masters Femenina and the actual tournament itself, which I might be able to provide commentary for. We'll see. Which would be amazing.
That'd be pretty cool.
It would be awesome, actually. So looking forward to that. But that is the wrap on Masters Femenina. The other piece of news real quick coming out of Brazil in terms of competitions is BGS started. So BGS CSGO Femenino, which is a women's competition run by Brazilian Game Show. They have the finals on LAN at like a TV studio. And I think the finals are actually broadcast on Brazilian TV, which is like really awesome, actually.
Right.
B4 played their first game before the player break, or before they took a player break. They
Right.
lost to MIBR on Inferno 16-8, which I think was a shock. But I don't know. I don't want to say it was vacation mode, but at the same time, they just did not look sharp at all before. And then Storm Power beat Mooncats team 16-13. So kind of two pug teams going at it there, right?
Yep.
The next scheduled game isn't until the 13th. So they have like a whole month to play these group stage games. So it works just like League of Feminine. It's round robin.
Yeah.
And it's 2 groups of 4. But they give them like a whole month to do the group stage games. So you have some games scheduled for literally like August 10th right now. So it's like, wow. And I don't know how this is going to work because the LAN finals are in October. So it's like, well, are the LAN finals going to be CS2? Are they going to be CSGO? Like,
nobody knows.
CS2 is going to be out by October.
Well,
I don't know about August when the group stage finishes and you still got to do the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
The 14 playoff. But I have no idea what's going to go on with this tournament. So we'll see what happens. But that's all in terms of the results. We did have cash cups, but we're
holding off on those for now. Yeah.
Yes, because we do have another round of them this weekend. Looking forward to that.
All right, so that leaves us with kind of the rest of the news bits and stuff. And I mean, there's lots in terms of the rosters and stuff. We'll leave that towards the end just because there's so many of it. I think the biggest thing that we want to talk about right off the bat, cover it in its fullest, is we got some things getting dropped by ESL in the last few weeks here. First, we got the team invites were dropped. They also dropped how the qualification process is going to work. It's confirmed how it's going to work now in the future, which we kind of knew how it worked. In terms of who stays in the qualification process and who doesn't, and then of course we also have the mystery of the wildcard spot being revealed. We'll get there, Benny. Don't you worry. We'll have plenty of time to talk about that. But let's start with the invites coming through. Invites coming in were in Europe: Enigma Galaxy, Navi Javelins, Nine Pandas Fearless, Big Akipa, Ninjas in Pajamas, G2 Oya, Aces, and Guild. So 7 of those 8 teams have an org behind them. That's pretty good. And of course, Aces.
Yeah, it's good.
No. Of course, Aces being the one team that now they're guaranteed a spot, potential for them to be signed.
Yeah, and I think it's a good decision for ESL to bring Aces in because I thought they played okay. And the real kicker was that it was going to be Copenhagen Flames, but unfortunately the orgs died.
Yes.
Real sad that they died. So it's like who picks up the spot? And I think I'm actually surprised, to believe it or not. The one thing I looked at and thought, you haven't brought Team Spirit back.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I wonder if there's something there in terms of just like they know Team Spirit will qualify again. I don't know. It's a weird line of thinking.
I don't know if Team
it's a
Spirit
weird
will
logic.
Qualify again.
We don't.
It's very
Europe is very, very competitive when it comes to these things. So I'm glad that we see Aces coming back. I'm glad that potentially offers them a chance, offers teams that orgs the chance to look at that and go, well, it's a free agent team. If we want to get something going, they might not be the best right now, but that's a jumping off point because now the qualification process is different. We can get to that in a second, though. The next thing is, of course, South America and North America. South America, B4 Esports, Furia, MIBR, and then W7M. That's pretty much across the board what we expected, except it's a bit weird. Black Dragons is not there. More on that in a little bit. We'll get back to that one.
Foreshadowing.
Yes. I don't foreshadow often, but when I do, it's important. Of course, then that leaves the North American side. FlyQuest Red, Shimmer. We expected those two. Evil Genius is Gold. Makes sense. And interestingly enough, Detonate. Now, previously we have reported that Detonate have disbanded, and if I haven't reported it here, we've known it. It's kind of been common knowledge. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of a roster they come through with, because I'm guaranteeing they had to keep some players. So my guess is somebody like
just
Bouchard.
Signing Starfish, not just everybody. But no, it's a good point you bring up. Like the roster rules that are traditional in CS and like holding 3 players in I don't know I just think that at this rate the org's got to bet that the spot is theirs and then they just sign a team. Like just look around.
And I think you look at the players as well that are willing to stay by, because we know Childs is going to do just college CS with the rest of her, because she's at Michigan Tech. But players like Andrea and Bouchard, who are looking to still keep playing, they bring in another one of the players with them. I'm drawing a blank on the name, like Kianetta, and I want to say JoJo, but I know that's not her name in game. Sapphire. Thank you so much. JoJo has the most annoying Twitter for that because it just says JoJo. It's like, but your name is Sapphire. Anyways, it's minor gripes. But you have to keep some kind of combo of those 4 players together to retain this roster spot, and then you're also having to go out and try out new players and bring them in. And then of course, that's to keep the spot. You then have to play. More on that in a little bit. Of course, foreshadowing. I will say every single one of these groups has the invited teams, but then every single one you have 4 coming in from the qualifiers. So just blank check. You get 2 qualifiers each zone. Top 2 teams qualify, and that gives 12 for Europe, 8 for South America, and 8 for North America.
The other big change is it's not 2 groups.
Yes, we're getting to there.
One giant group of 8, and they're doing single round robin. So we're getting 7 match weeks instead of 6 for North America, South America, and the top 2 will advance. Period, flat out. You're either good enough or you're not. No playoff games anymore. No going 6-0 and then you lose the playoff game and you don't go to land, even though you're freaking 6-1. You either do it or you don't. And I like that. I think that's a really good change.
And now, do preface that change is only in North and South America because the European group stage is larger.
Exact same as last season.
Same as last season. And I mentioned about the how the requalification works. For the last 3 seasons, and including this one, they've done invites. That was mostly because they didn't really know what they had in terms of rosters. Rosters were very much still kind of in motion. That has changed. They've seen now that there's a lot more roster stability. There's a lot more teams sticking around. And even if they're not signed, such as a team like Shimmer or even before them, like Please Send Box, they stuck around long enough for the players were there to be able to form rosters. So in Europe, the top 3 teams qualify for the season finals. The top 8 teams requalify for the next season. So it's not an invite anymore. It is prove that you belong, you can stay. In NA and SA is the top 4 that requalify for the next season of Impact. Top 2 go to the season finals. So that's 7 of your 8 teams right there, and that leaves.
And I think that's another good change. I think it's a really good change from ESL. Like you said, it brings stability to the region. Now orgs can look at these teams and be like, oh, we know or we think or it's kind of, without sounding too harsh, there are certain teams that are going to be expected that have a heavy favorite to stay in.
Yeah.
And, if it's a pug team, then it'll be easier to sign, easier to attract teams orgs into signing them. So I think it's a really good change.
In an interesting way, ESL Impact is kind of going the way of the regionalized pro league back in the day, where you win and you're in, you stay in. There's not an invite system. It is every single season, 2 teams or 3 teams get knocked down, and they have to requalify, and the rest of the team stayed, and that's why orgs like Echo Fox and Selfless and all these other small orgs that were not, they weren't big money banks like Cloud9, like Liquid. They were small, not bedroom run, but just kind of towards that level. But they were able to survive because they had that process of, we're going to survive, we're going to play the next season because we're better than the teams coming up.
And they could tell sponsors, we're going to be in certain number of games every season, you'll get your products and whatnot on there.
Very, and it wasn't a partnered system either. It was free-flowing. You just were good enough to stay in there.
And how many people, especially in North America, right? How many people look at that and go, know what, those were the golden days.
They were the good days.
I miss those, believe it or not.
It gets talked about a lot. It does get talked about a lot.
I mean, trust me, the scheduling was horrid. Teams were playing too many games. Teams would have to forfeit, ESL Pro League games to play ECS games.
Yeah.
And then they would have to forfeit ECS games to play ESL Pro League games. It was a mess. It was an absolute mess.
But it's crazy to think of how much CS was there back in the day compared to now, where it's ESCA. And the occasional tournament, but now it's just ESCA.
The merger really killed a lot.
Well, even before the merger, it was when, I guess the merger of all of the region-based pro leagues. Once that became a huge thing in the Louvre agreement,
true, yeah.
That was where really things started.
That's kind of when ECS got pushed out.
Yeah.
And Faceit were pretty much done running ECS. That's when ECS died. Then they tried Flashpoint,
And Flashpoint was all right. You
It
know
was
what? For
all
North
yeah, it
America
was okay.
specifically, Flashpoint was pretty good. Like we got
Yeah,
Chaos in there, and we had a few other random team, like ATK I think popped in for a minute,
yeah.
but it
What they
just there
tried to do
wasn't
with the
anything left.
content was all right, I
Yeah,
thought. Like,
there was a lot of really good ideas. It just they didn't have much of a backing, and apparently there were bidding wars behind the scenes with other orgs.
yep,
But that's
yep,
a
yep.
different story for a different
3
time.
kills all. That's
Yeah.
that's the bottom line of that one. Anyway,
Going
um,
back, sorry, just to the towards the open qualifiers here because we did
yep,
gloss over it a little bit when those qualifiers are. Every single tournament starts at 6 in their region's time. So in Europe, it's Central Eastern time. In North America, it's Eastern Standard, and in South America, it's Brazilian time. I believe it's BRT. Each one starts at
yep.
6 in that time zone. The first qualifier goes from August 18th to August 20th, depending on how many matches there are. So for your smaller regions, it's probably going to be a 1 or 2 day tournament. For the bigger region like Europe, it probably will be a multiple day tournament because it's best of ones and best of threes kind of tied in together. Qualifier number 2 goes from August 25th to August 27th. So just kind of my me being a little bit of looking. Both are on weekends. It's 2 weekends in a row. So it's not during middle of week. It is Friday to Sunday is the set time it has been put aside for this. And same thing, 25th to 27th time put aside specifically for the qualifier that then leads into everything else.
Yeah, I think that's good. There is one other piece of news.
Yes, and
About
this is the one you're
the
most
season
excited
4.
about.
Excited's probably the wrong word, but in fact, it's definitely the wrong word.
Yeah.
But the wild card spot.
Yeah, who's the wild card, Benny? What region is the wild card?
It's Asia again.
Yeah.
Which look, congrats to them. I'm very happy for them.
I think we knew.
I hope HSG do it again. We get to see them on LAN.
Yeah.
That'd be great. I love that team.
Yeah.
There's a very big glaring problem that this has created. There's 2 regions that have been left hung out to dry. They're hung out to dry. They're absolutely been abandoned, neglected. Use every negative connotation word that you want to apply because it's valid. They have left Oceania and South Africa behind. And I think it's unfair. I think it's unjust. And I think it's something that in 2024, if they're serious about this being a long-term project, it needs to be rectified. Because the thing is, you can't, and I've expressed this before, but I want to say you can't what do you call it? Try to grow the game selectively in only a few regions. Like it just doesn't work. It's not a good policy. Like I, I I mean, you've already taken the servers out of South Africa for the cash cups. They're playing on 200 ping.
Which we were
You know what I
getting
mean?
to, yeah.
They've already got the load shedding.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a problem that, yes, is unique to South Africa. I understand. Players can't control it. Nobody controls it except the government, right? And now you've not given them a reach. You've given them nothing to play for. Nothing. Absolutely nothing to play for. And there's been arguments made. There's been arguments said that yes, they're not really competitive on an international scene, not as much as HSG. Okay, that's fine. How many times have we been here and say expand the goddamn land to 10 teams? Okay, like just do that, and you'll be fine. And it's not the fact that they're not competitive and blah, blah, blah. You have to give them something to play for. When the teams didn't have anything to play for in 2021 in Oceania, in North America, in Europe, what happened to those teams? Okay.
They were gone.
Giuliano and her team, they went to Val. North American teams, they went to Val. You had CLG Red at the time as the only women's team in North America. Oceania, what happened? They went to Val. Okay. South Africa doesn't have Valorant.
Yeah.
Granted. But it's the fact that the scenes died, right? And now you have players in South Africa who are passionate, who are committed, who are still pushing and breaking boundaries, like ATK qualifying for main, the first women's team to qualify for main, which is the highest division in South Africa, mind you. Okay, so you have these teams committed to playing, and you've given them absolutely nothing. You've given them $350 on them every other weekend to say, here you go. It's not good enough. It's from an ESL standpoint, it is not good enough. It's not good enough. And it needs to be said. Like, this is a huge mistake. And then we look at Oceania, and we've talked about, what they're doing, increasing the player base. We've had almost $2,000 of donations for a 10-women's pug league.
Yeah.
Okay, way more than the cash cups. Okay, way more to run a pug league. And it's like, well, they're left hung out to dry. And you can't say they're not competitive, because last year they came here and beat everybody on the fucking continent. And that's my swear.
I'm good with that.
So they beat everybody in North America to go to Valencia.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me now. Could they do that feat again? I don't know. I would say the teams have gotten better in North America, but it's still the fact that they're competitive internationally enough to beat a whole nother region and go to Atlanta. So what is the point? What is the point of saying we're going to grow the leagues, but we're only going to grow it selectively? We're going to give Europe more spots. We're going to, take away 2 regions entirely. We're going to, you either do or you don't, and your actions speak so much louder. And for me, this is ESL not caring. They don't care anymore. They're done with South Africa. I will be surprised if we get servers in South Africa, which would be a disgrace, because outside of the women's scene in general, that's a scene that's grown. That's a scene that had just opened to now open intermediate and main, and you have enough teams to run 3 divisions. And that's the point. Like, that is a growing game down there in a region where it is so hard to do anything because the infrastructure is so poor.
And it's one of the only games down there that survives because people love it so much. Like, you've got JT and Complexity as a result of this. You've had pros in the past. Like, a South African team went to a major at the start of the whole cycle. So
you almost
I almost did.
No,
but it's, I don't know. I agree with you. The biggest point that I see bringing Asia back as the wild card is what they bring in terms of as a team. Like, they're very competitive, but also the idea that they're hopefully trying to bring more Asia teams, kind of give more awareness. But at the same time, I don't think that's happening. I genuinely, like, we see how many teams play in the Perfect World side of things, but they've not really gone over towards the ESCA, the Faceit side. That has always been the issue, is they play Perfect World because it's Chinese majority, teams that play on a different game entirely. So it's tough, because I get it. Like, HSG made a big investment by, they picked up Olga. They just, they routinely make round the world trips to go to these lands and everything. But like you said, at some point the wild card needs to not just be the HSG invite slot, because that's what it is, and that's what it's going to continue to be if you continue to say this is for Asia. And again, nothing against the players. This is not on them.
No,
this is entirely on ESL.
This is entirely on ESL, yeah.
Which is like, it sucks, because again, we have ATK, we have Vibin, we have White Rabbit Amaryllis, we have the Oceanic Pug teams that at the same time have some kind of core, and like you said, are putting money, are getting community funded events and 10 women's and stuff to help them develop and grow, to at least have some sort of a chance, so that when they do get their shot, they get the chance, like they can show why they deserved it. And it feels so weird to look at that and go, yeah, but we're only giving them $500 a cash cup.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't work.
It kills me, because too, people are like, oh, well, look at how bad ATK played at the first LAN, the season 1 LAN, and I'm like, okay, yeah, they took a North American team to 3 maps. Okay, and then they had to play Nigma as their first opponent. Yeah. Who is beating that team season 1?
Who has beat that team?
Nobody.
In general.
NIP has beat that team twice.
They're the only team.
Online. Nobody's done it online.
They're the only team. NIP is the only team.
Okay, sure. You could look at Fury at that season 1 LAN that had Olga, mind you.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, they took a map off the final. The final was kind of close. Okay, cool. Great. Still doesn't mean that ATK's beating that team. Yeah. And then they took a North American team to 3 maps and they lost. Okay. It was just please send help, which turned into EG.
Yeah.
Okay. Which obviously they peaked then. They haven't, they're.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Don't worry. We'll get to that.
But the point is, like, you can't, it pains me. It really pains me because the players care. The players love the game. You're killing the players' love for the game. What do the players have to play for now? They've got nothing. You know what I mean? The whole oceanic region could just die tomorrow now
Yeah.
because you've given them absolutely nothing but the scraps. And even in South Africa, you took away the scraps, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it in South Africa where they had like seasonal teams because these teams would pop in for a few months kind of leading up to Impact. Yep. They'd prep, they'd play,
and VGS.
They'd get really good, and VGS, they get really good. They'd be there for that event. That would end. They were gone. The only one that was really consistent with sticking around was ATK, and that's because they were so good that they made it to the top division.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why CLG Red stayed around for so long.
Exactly. Look at a region that's not seasonal. Oceania. And what do they have in terms of works? They've got nothing. Because you've given them nothing. There's nothing for them down there. So growth takes time. I said this earlier today. Growth takes time. What Bones is doing is incredible, right? What that region is doing. Every player in that region, every org owner in that region trying to communicate, every administrator in that region trying to communicate, every caster in that community trying to, it takes time and it's growing. But it takes a hell of a lot quicker to destroy something than it does to build something.
I'm trying to look and see all the admin team there because it's not just Bones down there as well. Like there are so many people down there that do everything. We give her the name, we give her the most praise because she's the one who puts her name on most of the stuff.
But like, how much work has Connie put into that scene? How much work has Kimbot put into that scene? How much work has those players put into Sarah, who comes back constantly? Viscos, who puts pause on her freaking Apex career to go play these cash cups. You know what I mean? Players that aren't 100% sure of themselves but enjoy playing. Players like Evelyn, you know what I mean? Like these players do so much and are growing the scene, and you've given them nothing. They don't even have a lifeline, mate. The lifelines themselves, because they've had to crowdfund their own region because you've given them nothing. And this is a region that can come to North America and beat every team that had to offer at one point. Come on, spare me. I'm giving you the full Italian. That's how angry I am right now. Like it's absolutely the wrong decision. Like I understand if they wanted to keep the land 8 teams, why they would, but if things are already in place, fine. Okay, but where's the map? Where's the goal? Where's the plan, right? Because now you've come out and you've announced the plan for Impact going forward, which, by the way, the whole announcement of like retaining the spots if you finish top 4 or whatever, it puts season 5 in the picture, because remember they haven't announced anything for next year. Whatever,
well, and they'll wait. They'll be months down the line.
Right, but I never try to take things for granted, because this scene's gone from having it to having nothing to now we have the, you know what I mean? So I try not to take anything for granted. But it does mean that we're looking like they're going to have a circuit in 2024, thankfully. Knocking on wood there. But it's the fact that, like, what's the plan for those teams in 2024? Because if you could turn around and said, look, we're really sorry, we've only planned for this, but next year we plan to expand the lands. Okay.
Amazing.
Great. They have something to play for.
Yeah.
You could even bring in a 4th European team and maybe like a 3rd South African or South American team, and then you bring 1 South African and an oceanic team if you wanted to expand if you really wanted to expand to 12. Like, I don't care. The point is, you could plan that out, right? You had plenty of time to plan that out right now, quite frankly, with CS2 not bugging around for any, Lord knows when that game's coming out. But anyway.
Summer.
Summer. But my thing is, like, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
And it's a drop of the ball. And a lot of times I hear from people, and it's like, I wish I could share more details, but I can't right now. No, you can. Maybe not you personally, but like ESL can, but they choose not to.
Yeah.
And that's the point. Like, if they really, really care, come out and give us something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, your actions speak a hell of a lot louder, and the actions are, there's nothing for Oceania in South Africa, and you haven't even given the freaking servers back in South Africa yet.
Yeah.
So, prove it to me. Prove it to me. That's my point.
I'm with you. Mic dropping everything. I'm with you.
I don't want to do this. It's too expensive.
Yeah, there's not much more we can say on that. It's show us, and until you show us, we're gonna be loud about it because there's no reason not to be loud about it. What are you gonna say? What are you gonna say?
It's not that I don't believe him. It's just, you know, what you mean the
there's nothing there yet.
Yeah, the proof is in the pudding right now, right? And the pudding ain't got the pudding ain't got 2 regions in it. So
there you go.
Anyway,
that's that. That's where it leaves us. I guess just a final note here. The full schedule is every Wednesday and Thursday as it was last season. And except actually, you know what, that goes for every single week except they skip October 11th and 12th. And then the final week they have the match on the 25th, and then they have on the 28th and 29th for some reason. I'm guessing there's something with that, but something to do with the EU decider match, I think, on the 28th, but then also like the 29th is the last day of matches. I don't know. It's how they've decided to do it. So, but that's it for ESL Impact Season 4. We shall await the qualifiers in about a month's time, and until that point, we'll just have cash cups and whatever else kind of pops through on that. Speaking on that, actually, I'm just going to quickly move us over to something that's a little bit more effective on our side. It's a specific thing because there's only one team that we're really that I'm paying attention to on this, and I know you're kind of paying attention as well. LCA is hosting a farewell tournament to CS:GO. It's called The Last Offensive. You were thinking of something else, weren't you?
I had no idea what was coming down the pipeline, honestly.
But no, Cherry Bombs is playing in that, and that I believe is the last tournament. The last tournament in That'll be like the last tournament in North America for a female team to be playing in, aside from the preseason cash cups that are happening every weekend,
or this qualifier for whatever.
Or the qualifiers, whatever else has been coming.
Tournament Shock or Thunderdome or whatever the heck it is.
I don't know. I have no idea who's in that, but I know the Cherry Bombs is in the LCA Final Offensive, and this podcast is sponsored by LCA, so we're gonna hype it up a little bit. Why not, right?
I'm just gonna make a random reference to a 1985 Australian film called Thunderdome, and nobody's gonna get it. Anyway, sorry,
incredible. Thunderdome.
Okay, that's fair. Moving on to other news, though.
Yes.
We do you want to talk about the Cash Cup changes in South Africa?
Yes, that's probably the next biggest thing. We
kind of talked about it in the rant. I kind of talked about it in the rant.
You want me to? I can run through it for you if you want.
Go straight ahead.
So, yeah, we did have the Cash Cups come through recently in this last week. That was the first weekend of Cash Cups. There is another one this weekend, and an announcement prior to. Well, first of all, here's the greatest part. First of all, the Cash Cup was announced about 15 hours before for the Oceanic side.
Yeah, I know.
They had less than a day to put together teams. Very, very funny. Very, very great. Yeah, that's my one that you're using right there. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. Okay, and then also at the same time, it was announced that with the move to Faceit, the merger to Faceit has happened, right? ESCA as a client, as a website, is not being used anymore. It is all moved over to Faceit. I've gotten my League Pass, I think, or Game Pass, whatever, because I had a subscription to ESCA. It's all now over in towards Faceit. Issue that arose. ESCA does have servers in South Africa. Faceit does not. The merger did not bring the servers with them, so they were playing on 200 ping in France. For why, we do not know.
It's the same company.
Yes.
Why was that not planned?
I don't know.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the other thing. Like, what? Who dropped the ball?
They did. I don't know.
Somebody dropped the ball. Like, you know what I mean?
I mean, it happens. But with this much planning, come on. It's kind of.
I mean, how much planning is it when you announce 15 hours before and you're just, oh yeah, I guess we'll run a Cash Cup this weekend? Like, what?
It's got to be something with the scheduling that they just kind of like came to it now. But at the same time, like, you could have just like, there's space to do this. There's still plenty of weeks left in July. There's plenty of time in August, like for those. It's just the merger.
Look at when the last Cash Cup was prior. Like, what you had 3 weeks to sit on this. You couldn't.
Player break on that set.
I understand that. But I'm saying you had 3 weeks to plan and announce.
Yes.
That's my point. And migrate the servers and everything else. Like, Like we couldn't do that?
Apparently not. Which again is another failing point, and it just causes more headaches and issues. The tournaments themselves weren't too bad. I mean, we had to grab IPs.
They were actually fun. They were all right.
And the IPs were, I mean, the admins were there to grab the IPs for us, because we can't. It wasn't open IP. It wasn't just grab an IP. It was you had to ask, which is whatever. I'll be honest on that point. That's not something that concerns me yet, because I don't see. I'll see that being an issue when the seasons roll around and there's no open IPs all of a sudden.
Yeah.
That's gonna ruin us. But I hope the fix will be there by then. I mean, the other thing also was if you had to, you could sign up early, right? You could sign up early, but you would have to sign up again within the hour to auto check-in, because for some reason the check-in function wasn't working. That was a very interesting thing. It's little issues that happen across all the cash cups, but specifically for South Africa, not having the South African servers, like
like that,
nail on
that
the
was
head.
the big one.
Nail
Honestly,
on the head.
a lot of the issues, open IP, the doubled sign up or whatever the heck, right?
Yeah.
Like part of me is like, okay, first edition, like work the kinks out. Like there needs to be some leeway, right? Like I understand.
And I'm
that,
good with
right?
the leeway on those things.
Right, exactly.
Servers.
But the servers, mate. Oh my god! Like the base number one that you've had to run, like the tournament off of, and like now because they're this weekend again, you've given yourself a week to fix the issue. Don't think it's going to be fixed within a week.
No.
But it's like fine, it's whatever. Like if did that, the next cash cup after this, they definitely 100% should be servers, because maybe it's something where the contract has to lapse on the month that ECA owns the servers, and then you buy the servers for the fix it. Like whatever, I don't care. Figure it out. But for this cash cup, it's whatever. For the next cash cup, though, not the one this weekend, but the one whenever the next one after that,
the next one's in August.
It's got to be figured out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's gonna be another rant. It's gonna have to be another rant. I don't know at this rate. But it's a disgrace. Anyway, it would be a disgrace.
I know
at that point. At that point, right? But anyway,
final piece of news before we get to the roster stuff. We did mention it earlier again. We're walking back on ourselves just a little bit here, but it's all right. The final thing was the 10 women's in Australia and the Oceanic region. They got a lot more donors. Like you said, they're over $2,000 now. And they also had a 250,000 Faceit point contribution, which is really cool, because that's where the hub's getting played. So a lot of extra incentive to bring them back, keep players coming in. And it's not one of those things of, oh yeah, the first one is going to be all this money and then we're going to keep asking for it. They've done it in a sustainable way where it is a set amount, and the prize pool just continues on, right? It just keeps ticking over and over and over, and that gives it length. They're looking long term. They're not looking short term gain, get a bunch of popularity, and then disappear. They're looking for that long term, slow burn, because as we've seen with cash cups, like you keep these tournaments rolling, teams will keep coming. Even if they're not earning any money, the practice that they're getting, the chance to meet people, the chance to learn as a team, in this case to learn as an individual in a team environment, it gives them a lot more than just the money side. The money side is the incentive to stay. The 10 women, the hub and the whole thing like that is the reason to do the whole bit.
I want to just make one more point about the Faceit stuff.
Yes.
It's a little personal one. I'm okay. I'm sorry to everybody involved, but I do hope that a lot of the Faceit stuff is figured out, though, like open IP and all that, because in general, the website, it's great for players in EU, it's great for players in North America. The change over to Faceit is not good for anybody else. I mean, maybe for Oceania, I don't know, but like navigating the website is a mess compared to ESCA. It's very clunky. It's not laid out cleanly enough. Things are not labeled specifically enough to know where I need to go. Like, you know what I mean? To find a tournament. Finding a tournament is messy. GoTVs, grabbing GoTVs have always been a mess on that website for years. Tournament organizing on that website has been really rocky. They seem to have improved that a little bit, but generally it's really rocky. Like it can't hold multi-stage tournaments. It has to be separate tournaments for each stage of the. It's not built for what they want it to do. And I think why we have that, why we're moving over there, is because basically pugging on ESCA
Is not
especially in North
it's not there
America, is
anymore.
dead. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's dead, and it's dead in EU. So they must have looked at it and gone, you know what, like everybody plays on Faceit. Why don't we just move everything over?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's cool, but at the same time, like adminning just seems messier on there as opposed to ESEA.
Yes.
Like just Go TVs are messier, tournament pages are messier. It like ESEA website. If I went to the website and I click league on the left hand side, I see play, I see standings, I see divisions, I can figure myself out around that website.
ESCA,
I
yeah.
can't do that on Faceit. Like I don't
ESCA
know
as a
where I'm
website
going.
was ESCA as a website is so much better, and
Yeah.
it was better purpose built for tournaments. I really hate that they got rid of it because
Yeah.
you could have 100% just turned and gone, that's it. We don't do pugging on this. We don't care about your pickup games. We are tournament specific, and you
Right.
can stay on Faceit. And you could they already did this with the linking of like they moved everybody's payment over.
Yep.
You could just link the pricing on that, where if you get Faceit Premium, you're paying for your ESEA sub. It's the
Yeah.
same. It's the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
thing. And then
And
the league fees are their own separate thing.
yep.
You could still do the league pass. We're getting away
Yeah.
from the whole
We're
thing
getting
here,
away,
but
but the point too is like with the leagues, like I could, and I'm obviously we don't know how it's going to work on Faceit. I mean, but still, like
yeah,
I could see the schedule, who's playing who, the date,
yeah.
the map.
There's
Like
so much
I'm
more
gonna
there.
need that on Faceit.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it's plus with the event pages, they were all numbered. If you'd never ever noticed
yeah,
how I in the early days how I figured out what regions were playing or whatnot,
yeah.
the event
Because you went
pages
up.
were always numbered in the URL. So I would
Yeah,
just plug and
you just
play,
yeah.
and
It's
you
very
get to
very
the different
simple.
event page. Yeah. Now trying to navigate is like
It's
I
fog.
can't figure it out. Yeah. So it's got to change. It's got to
Yeah.
improve because right now it's a mess.
All right. That leaves us with just the roster stuff, the everything on
Yep.
that.
Yep. Yep.
Where do we want to start? Because there's a lot in different regions. There's two. I guess the two big players here are the South America and North American groupings of roster movements.
Yep. Why don't we start with South America
Okay.
and then move into North America because obviously
Yes.
North America go last. Big America, rah rah rah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, for lack of a better term. But a lot of roster changes. So I'm going to begin with the big one, right? And I'm going to begin with the announcement that Black Dragons have dropped their women's side.
Yes.
And I think the reason for, well, the reported reason is that they're struggling financially, Black Dragons.
Right.
And so the women's side just got dropped because they just can't afford to keep them. It is very sad. It's very unfortunate. And I will say this: I'm gonna go on record as saying it. Forgive me, but I'm not a huge fan of Black Dragon's owner. However, I will say it would be a shame if that esports org folds because it's one of the older ones in Brazil and it's got
Right.
quite a bit of history behind it. I think they were founded in like '98, so they've been around for a while, right? Like
Yeah.
they're almost comparable to a complexity, right? For like
Right.
complexity did the hard yards in the
In the early
noughties, if you
days.
will.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, so it would be a shame to lose that. But they are reportedly going through financial trouble, so they dropped the roster, which is really prime for anyone that wants to get into the scene because
Mm.
that's a very good roster. However, that roster has lost Anna X. Announced today, she is going to Furia.
Yeah.
So this was rumored for a while. It was anticipated. A lot of the talk is that the contract was already worked out, and I think it's almost a shame because I do think she's a good fit for Furia.
Yeah.
But Josie from Big Equipa is available, looking for a team now.
Yes.
Big have given her the ability to pursue other options, right?
And I
And
think part of that is due to she was having visa issues. I believe that was
so
something
she
that's been mentioned.
was, but
Yeah.
then she did eventually get the visa, and
Yeah.
apparently just wasn't a good
Fit.
atmosphere within the team,
Oh,
reportedly.
that's
So
unfortunate.
so she left and or has been given the opportunity to pursue other options. So I was like, man, if Fury had picked up Josie, that would have been but that's potentially a team that takes B4 down. But I don't think they do with Anna X. We have to see. But that means that Josie is also available. So if Joshi slides into this X Black Dragon side, I'm like, whoa,
That's a good roster to pick up.
that's a big roster to
Yeah.
pick. Yeah. So we don't know where Joshi's gonna go. The other piece of news in Brazil, I'm just trying to look over it right now on my notes.
Bokor?
Is Bokor?
Yeah.
Yes, Bokor is looking for team. So remember, she had the health issue.
Yes.
It seems to have subsided. She made a post saying that she's been able to handle it.
Yeah.
And that she's now looking for teams. So Bokor's back in action. Really good rifler, by the way. So I think that is something that I look forward to potentially seeing. I think where she lands, of course, right? So we'll see. I don't know who's looking for a rifler right now.
Yeah.
Aside from Black Dragons needing to pick up a fifth, everybody's kind of secure. But be interested to see where Bokor does land. I do have to say. So that's all of the news in South America.
Yeah, perfect. A little bit of a bow on that. That leaves us with North America and our little run through here. Yeah, I mean, we had a big one drop earlier today. We'll leave that one to last, I think. The biggest one to start off with was Saints disbanding. They the players all announced that they were going their separate ways. I believe all 5 or however many. Yeah, so Cincy announced first that she was leaving to play on a co-ed team with some friends of hers. They're actually going to be in the LCA final offensive. Interestingly enough, I believe they're called the Plague or something like that. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. But that left the rest of the roster kind of in flux, and they just decided, you know what, we're not going to hunt again for another player. We're just going to call it right now, and we'll all kind of commit to something else and reroute. So that left Scraft, Olya, Catalyst, and Bunny all to find new teams. And joining them in that kind of a hunt is Haley, who was last seen playing on Team Factor Ruby. Haxie is her Twitter. Another announcement that was made was Cherry Bombs were going to be missing Tsunami. Tsunami has gone left looking for team. She's trying to find a new home.
I don't know if she is. Is she?
I believe so.
I haven't actually seen a tweet from like, "Hey, I'm looking for team."
Then. Maybe she's maybe she just is taking a step back. I'm gonna quickly check that.
Yeah, I checked it earlier today. I was like, I don't see an LFT team or tweet, but we don't know. We don't know. She might be. But nonetheless, she is no longer in Cherry Bombs, right? That's the main.
No, she hasn't put up a looking for team, and So that's where we sit up with that. There was another player that was recently that played with I think it was Cherry Bomb. I think it was Team Factor Ruby. She played for Team Factor Ruby, and she has experience in Europe. I forget what her name was. Saw her this weekend.
God.
Give me a second. Give me a second. You can.
No, it's gonna bug me too.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm looking. I am looking. Is it? Oh, it's Jance.
No, yes.
Jance.
She was around in like the early impacts, like a couple cash cups. I want to say a qualifier or two as well.
Yes.
For like the main seasons.
Here you go. Played in ESWC 2008 and 2012. DreamHack Winter 2010.
What a legend.
Copenhagen Games 2013, 2017.
What a legend.
Other lands. 6K hours. More than 1.6. Yeah. So Jance is in.
What a flex! More than 1.6. What a pure flex.
Jance is looking for team in North America specifically. So she played recently on Team Factor Ruby for the Cash Cup, and has that looking for team still going. So Cherry Bombs are looking for one. I think still they're trying players. I know coming forward they have a trialist coming forward in Final Offensive that they kind of lead, kind of didn't, but funny things on that. I'm not saying anything because
it's all good. I'm not gonna say anything.
We're not gonna say anything. If you look, you know. If you look, you know. It's not too hard.
But
the final announcement, the big one, the one I think we've kind of known has been coming for a while. Judging by their performances and judging by kind of who was the issue in that kind of a point of view of you look at the roster and you go, yeah, there's something kind of wrong there.
Turns to the conflict of interest as well.
There's a conflict of interest as well. Just Cass, Lovergirl, and Onter are all out of EG. So that's the coach and 2 of the players. That leaves Seven Licious, Milk and Pikikiki left
Yep.
on the roster. We've seen them flirting around with a few players. We haven't confirmed anything yet, so we're not
I am
saying
going to go on
anything.
the record. I'm going to go on the record.
Yeah.
Not you.
Yes.
Expunge Parks, right?
Okay.
Expunge Parks from any responsibility. Sorry, this way. Expunge Parks from any responsibility. This is pure me, but they have signed up with Yuli on the roster, the former CLG Red
Right.
player in the Thunderdome tournament. So,
Okay.
and it has been rumored for a while. So the anticipation is that Yuli is going to be announced soon.
Right.
And I think it's great. First off, if that's true, um, I'm so happy that she's back in CS. She's a really good player. I think she got the short end of the stick a little bit on CLG Red. But also, I think it's a really, really good fit for EG. I think it gives them a lot of firepower and support that they don't have. I think Milk is kind of playing a more supportive role right now, and I think she can more focus on her game. Yuli can pick up support, or Yuli can entry like she was on Shield G. She was pretty decent entry too. So I think this really adds a lot of options for EG. The speculation, and again, expunge him, exclude him
I don't know anything.
from the speculation is that Emily is looking to come back into CSGO.
Interesting. Yeah, I saw that. I saw, you know what? I did actually see that tweet, and it was like, "Hey, I'll make you a list of players." And I never got any response back.
Yes, and obviously she has a history of playing with Milky.
Yep.
From the former Dignitas days, and I mean, I don't think they're going to get Artstar back. She seems pretty she's pretty deep into Valorant now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, set in. Thank you. That's exactly what it is. But it would also bring XP3 back as coach, right? Which I believe they're husband and wife, if I remember correctly now. But they have been a coach-player combo for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And even in Dignitas's heyday, when they won the Katowice challenges. So there's plenty of, credentials that are world-class with both the player and coach. So it opens the door if EG wants the opportunity. I think EG should take the opportunity.
And another point just on the coaching side is they're running with Munster right now. So Joe is their coach right now, and he brings a good amount of experience from his time being the coach for Party Astronauts and all that. So they have options, and I mean EG have thinned out quite recently. I mean, they started out with 3 different rosters. They've thinned it now out to 1 effectively, with a bunch of free agents kind of sitting below that. Munster was the odd one out to stay from that PA roster. The players were released. He as a coach wasn't. I think the big coaches they lost was the main team coach, who was Devorberg from Copenhagen Flames, and they lost Sheikh Zula as an assistant coach to free agency as well. So they have options in terms of coaching. It might be a good idea to bring him back, though. Just familiarity between the two. If Emily is to come back into the squad, time will tell though. Like I've heard other names been passed, but
I have as well. But
it's we don't know until they play their first match.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet the house on the 5th. I'd bet the house on Yuli though.
Oh, I'm betting the house on Yuli. Yeah, Yuli is such a good fit on that, and she's a consistent name with it all, and it seems.
And she's already signed up with EG. I'm like, that's probably going to be an announcement
there. So,
but I think EG, if they can get an in-game leader either way, take all the names that we've talked about out of it. If they just get a good, solid in-game leader, that lineup's going to do some damage.
Yeah,
I mean, that lineup is potentially season 4 attending,
and they looked really good already when they were looking kind of okay, even with Sevenlicious now, who is fully in the United States. After playing in Sweden. So we played in Sweden the entire season. EG are hopefully on the up curve now, instead of being on the dramatic downwards trajectory that they were after getting picked up as a roster.
Yes.
Okay. That is it for everything on that side. Benny, what are you watching in the coming weeks?
Really, just Brazilian game show. That's about the only tournament. There was one point actually that I just remembered I was going to make earlier, but it's far gone now. It's so far gone. I'll make it to you after the. I'll make it to you after the episode's over. Yeah. Anyway, what are you watching?
You know what? I'm gonna be watching the next Cash Cup coming up this weekend, and I'm gonna be keeping an eye on Cherry Bombs. I'm hoping to cast some of their games. I just took a look at my week schedule, and I was like,
the world.
damn. Yeah.
I do. I hope they shock the world.
I was looking, and I was like, oh shoot, I've got so much. I've got so many other things during my weeks now. I've filled myself up with like IRL stuff. It's like, damn. That's what happens when CS goes into off-season mode.
Doctor Strangelove and how I've learned to stop worrying and love cherry bombs. There you go.
Yeah, I mean the last thing I guess is keep an eye on the off week episodes, because the special episodes are coming back. We've been cooking. We're continuing to cook.
We do be cooking, yeah.
We do be cooking. We got quite a few lined up, and that's really good. I'm so glad that we do have that coming back after a few weeks off. It was needed. Those weeks off were needed, to be fair. And they're still needed. I'm gladly taking time off to play other games like Football Manager.
Same here.
With
you. Yeah. Same here. F1 Football Manager. I've been Dead or Alive. I picked up again. Like I've been enjoying.
7 Days to Die with Birdie and Vincent has been amazing. So much fun. So much fun. All right, that is where we are going to leave it for this episode, though. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Till next time. Goodbye and take care.